I turned 25 on a Tuesday. No party, no cake, just a knock on the guest house door at 7 a.m. It was my father, Martin Reed, sleeves rolled up like he was headed for yard work, but his eyes were focused, sharp, like this wasn't a visit, it was an execution. "Come to the kitchen," he said, "we need to talk." I followed him through the back gate. I hadn't stepped into the main house in over a week, not since Austin moved back in. The kitchen smelled like coffee and toast. My mother sat at the table, fully dressed, sipping from her mug like it was any other morning, like it wasn't my birthday, like nothing was happening. No balloons, no card, just a suitcase by the door. My suitcase, the brown leather one from college, the one with JR, burned into the side. I looked at it, then at them. My mother didn't smile. "You're 25 now, Juliana, it's time." I waited, for an explanation, for some softness, for something that made this make sense. My father cleared his throat. "We've decided, it's time for you to move out." "Today?" I asked. My voice felt thin, like it didn't belong to me. He nodded. "Austin needs the guest house now, for his business." I didn't argue, didn't cry, just stood there. My mother walked over to the suitcase and zipped it the rest of the way. "Your essentials are packed," she said. "We figured that would help." My throat tightened, but I stayed silent. They didn't ask where I'd go, didn't offer a ride or even a suggestion. They just opened the door. I stepped outside, suitcase in hand, the door clicking shut behind me. That was it. That was my birthday. I didn't cry at the end of the street, didn't stop walking. Just kept going, like my body knew something my heart hadn't yet understood. This had been planned, that suitcase was too neat, too prepared. But the truth? It hadn't started that morning. It started the day Austin was born. 3 years younger, blonde hair, big smile, natural magnetism. People clapped when he entered a room. Such a leader, they used to say. By 10, he was playing travel soccer and heading school committees. My mom never missed a game. I painted a mural in the school library when I was 14, took me 2 weeks after school. No one from my family ever came to see it. Austin got into a private business school in New York, tuition higher than all 4 of my years combined. My parents paid for everything. I stayed local, got scholarships, waited tables, designed websites to afford textbooks. When I graduated, they offered the guest house, for a modest rent. I accepted, I didn't ask for more. Then Austin came home, no job, just a vision. Dad gave him seed money, Mom cleared the garage for his creative space. They even threw him a launch party, banners, catering, live music. I built his pitch deck, didn't charge him. Didn't even get a thank you. "Austin's going to change the world," they said. No one ever asked what I was building. It wasn't bitterness I felt, not exactly. It was invisibility. There's a silence that settles in when you're always the extra in your own story. When your wins are afterthoughts, and your presence is just tolerated. I gave up trying to impress them the day Austin got a new car and I was still biking to freelance gigs. Once, I overheard my dad on the phone. "Austin's who we're building toward," he said. "Jules is stable." Stable, like a lamp or a coffee table. I thought maybe that would matter one day, that being steady meant I'd be needed, trusted. But in the end, they didn't even say thank you. They just handed over my space to the one they'd always made space for. The worst part wasn't being pushed out. It was realizing they never believed I was going anywhere worth following. And I had believed them. Until now. The motel smelled like lemon cleaner over something older, mildew or loss. Room 107, no view, just a twin bed, a lamp, and a humming wall from the vending machine next door. I wasn't staying long, I couldn't afford to. I dropped the suitcase to the floor and sat on the edge of the bed, still holding the handle like it was the only thing tethering me. They'd packed everything. Toothbrush, socks, charger. All neatly arranged, as if trying to make it look considerate. I unzipped the main compartment, then the front flap. That's where I found it. An envelope, no stamp, just one thing written on the front, "Juliana," in my grandfather's handwriting. Grandpa Henry, my father's father. Gone 10 years now. He'd taught me how to use a T-square at his drafting desk. Told me buildings weren't built with steel, but with clarity. "This," he once said, tapping a clean line on a blueprint, "is how you don't waste time." At his funeral, he gave me an envelope. "Not until you're 25, he said. I tucked it into the lining of that suitcase, thinking 25 was a lifetime away. Turns out, 25 showed up right on time. The envelope sat on my knees, my finger traced the seam. Part of me didn't want to open it, not in this room, not in this moment. But another part, the one that had just been erased, needed to know. Had anyone ever seen me clearly? I slid my thumb beneath the flap and opened the envelope. Inside were 3 items. The first, a letter, 2 pages, typed, but signed in pen. Dear Juliana, it began. If you're reading this, you've turned 25, and that means the terms we set are now yours to claim. My grandfather wrote the way he spoke, precise, direct, without decoration. He talked about the family business, Reed and Timberland, how he built it from a single sawmill and 1 truck, how he'd watched my father grow it, bigger, yes, but also narrower. Martin has ambition, he wrote, but not always vision. And vision, Juliana, is what you've always had. He said he saw it in me early on, the way I noticed buildings, how I paid attention to details others missed, the way I used space and color like language. You're not loud, you're precise, he wrote. That's the kind of mind companies forget to reward. I didn't. The second item was a legal document, on the letterhead of Harper Lindell, the law firm that handled our family's affairs. It was a transfer of ownership. 15% of Reed and Timberland Corporation. Effective on my 25th birthday. No one can revoke it, he wrote. They can delay, they can ignore, but the ownership is yours, and, if you choose, your voice at the table is, too. I stared at the number again, 15%. I didn't fully know what it meant yet, not in money, not in influence, but I knew what it wasn't. It wasn't charity, it wasn't a favor. It was presence, it was standing. The third item was a name and number. Ellen Whitaker, Estate Counsel, Harper Lindell. Beneath it, in my grandfather's steady hand. If they never told you, call her. That line stopped me cold. If they never told you. He knew they might hide this from me. And they had, for 10 years. While I stayed up nights chasing invoices, fixing websites, designing logos for clients who paid late, they had known. The vending machine hummed louder now. I stared at the ceiling. I didn't feel angry, not yet. But something inside me hardened, sharp, cold, and steady. They thought they had erased me. They forgot what day it really was. The next morning, I got dressed in yesterday's clothes, plain jeans, a worn blazer, flats that had walked too many miles. I slid the documents into a plastic folder I bought from the gas station across the street, flimsy, but functional. Then I dialed the number. Ellen Whitaker, Estate Counsel. The assistant answered on the 3rd ring. Ms. Whitaker is in a meeting, may I take a message? I gave my name. A pause, longer than it needed to be. Juliana Reed? Yes. 1 moment, please. Click, then another. Then Ellen's voice, calm and professional, surprisingly warm. Ms. Reed, she said, I've been waiting for this call. Her office was in a modest building downtown, wedged between a cafe and a notary service. It didn't look like a place where lives shifted, but mine did. She met me in the lobby, mid-50s, sharp suit, kind eyes. No handshake, just a nod. Come with me. Her office was tidy but lived in. A photo of her and a golden retriever sat on a shelf. That made me like her instantly. You brought what your grandfather left you? She asked. I handed her the envelope. She flipped through it with practiced ease, scanning each page. These are the originals, good. She turned to her screen, typed something, then looked back at me. Juliana, she said carefully, your name's been on the books for a decade, but your parents never responded to the annual verification notices. They never told me. I know, a small sigh, but you're here now, that's what matters. Over the next 30 minutes, she walked me through everything, voting rights, financial dividends, corporate access. This wasn't a gesture, it was a stake, a seat, a signature with weight. By the end, she handed me a folder, leather-bound, firm logo pressed in gold. Inside was the updated ownership certificate and a neatly stacked set of filings. As I stood to leave, she stopped me. One more thing. She handed me a card. If anyone questions your role, have them call me. I nodded and slipped it into my pocket. No calls to my parents, no messages. Just quiet steps forward. I didn't return to the motel. Instead, I walked 3 blocks to a small coffee shop with strong Wi-Fi and a quiet corner table. I ordered a black coffee, opened my laptop, and slid the leather folder beside it. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like return. I opened my laptop and typed 2 words into the search bar: studio space. I didn't want much, just light, and a door that locked from the inside. By sundown, I'd found a loft just outside the city. Once an art gallery, white walls, tall windows, a skylight that poured in the kind of morning sun you could work beneath for hours. I signed the lease using the money from my first dividend check. The second check went toward furnishing it: a desk, a second-hand sofa, and a standing lamp shaped like a tree branch. It wasn't extravagant, but it was mine. No rent checks to my parents, no bills in someone else's name. I moved in on a Thursday, alone. No boxes, just the same suitcase, and the same folder Ellen had given me. I unpacked slowly, hung 3 of my favorite prints on the wall. Then I sat at my new desk and opened a blank document. At the top, I typed, Jules Reed Studio. That was the name. Not Reed Design, not Juliana Creative. Just mine. Over the next few weeks, I rebuilt everything: my portfolio site, my client list, my invoice templates. What once felt like patchwork now felt permanent. Then one afternoon, I did something I'd never done before. I ordered a plaque. Nothing dramatic, just a small brass rectangle, 4 inches wide. The engraving was simple. Jules Reed Studio, in quiet. I built. I screwed it into the wall beside the door, ran my thumb over the edge. Then stepped back and looked at it. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't a declaration. It was a marker. A way of saying, I was here, I mattered, even when you didn't see it. I didn't post it, I didn't tell anyone. I just got to work. And in time, the clients came. Small businesses at first, then a healthcare group. Then a startup out of Chicago, the same one that passed me over a year ago. They wanted a full rebrand. I charged double. They paid without hesitation. At night, I sat by the window with tea and silence. No voices behind walls, no footsteps overhead. Just light, and space, and my name etched in brass where no one could erase it. The call came just after 9 p.m. Unknown number. I answered out of habit. Juliana. Austin. His voice was different, thin, not smug, not sure. It's me, I said, flatly. A pause. I didn't know if you'd pick up, he said, then a breath. I need help. I stayed quiet. The app crashed, the whole thing, servers, code, gone. We lost the seed investors. The bank froze our account. He tripped over his words, all speed and no control. I need someone who understands, someone who can fix this. Still, I said nothing. Dad's panicking. They used part of the company as collateral without telling the board. If it goes public, it'll be bad, he meant, for them. Not a word about where I'd gone, or how I was. Just, I didn't know who else to call, he said. Mom thought maybe you'd. He left the sentence dangling. I stood at the window, looking down at the quiet street. Light from a nearby lamppost spilled across the floor like honey. For a moment, I forgot who I was talking to. Then I remembered. They didn't call when I turned 25. Didn't call when I walked away. They only called now, because he had failed. And I hadn't. The next night, the house line called. The one they never used unless it was serious. I let it ring 6 times. Then answered. Juliana, my mother said. Her voice soft, but still wearing the old shape of control. I heard you spoke to Austin. I said nothing. We're going through something right now, she continued, but this doesn't just affect him, it affects all of us. All of us. Like I'd never left, like they hadn't packed my life into a suitcase and closed the door. She kept going. The company is at risk, your father's trying to contain the fallout, but we need support, legal, financial, someone the board will respect. Then came the real reason. We know about the shares, she said. We know what your grandfather left you. Finally, they knew. And they understood. We were hoping, she continued, that you'd step in, help protect what he built. I waited, then asked. Is this the same company you once told me I'd never be part of? Juliana, don't make this harder than it is. I'm not, I said, I'm just remembering clearly. She passed the phone to my father, his voice, steady and firm, like always. "We made mistakes," he said, "but now's not the time for resentment, we're asking for your help." I looked at the plaque on my wall. Jules Reed Studio, in quiet, I built. "I'm not angry," I told him. "Then you'll help." "No," I said gently, "I just remember what you said." He hesitated. "What do you mean?" I let the silence linger. "Then, you told me I wasn't family. And I believed you." Then I hung up. That evening, I walked into my studio alone. The light was low, the air smelled like pine and paper. A candle flickered beside the window. I took a photo of the plaque by the door. Jules Reed Studio, in quiet, I built. In silence, I was seen. No message, no caption, just the image. I sent it to my father's phone. The same number that once called to say, "You're on your own." He never replied. I never expected him to. Some doors don't need to be slammed. They close themselves, quietly.